I remember on the beginning, the Pinot Meunier, there was some people say, I don't know, it's just for the blend, etc. Today you arrive in some good places, they say it's the best variety from Champagne. I'm very happy. But the Pinot Meunier was there since a long time. Maybe to talk, to give the answer, we could have the taste of
yes.
this.
Always, yes.
Bottle. Yeah, so like that you could understand, and for me also, maybe give me some inspiration. If we are able today to make this very incredible quality from Pinot Meunier, it's not because I'm just very talented. It's because of the old grandparents who planted the vines. Today we understand that you just have to look the level of the dosage from the years 70 to now. I think we were at 20 grams, and now more of the wines are under 6, or maybe the big wines could be at 8, 10, etc. So the reduction of the dosage, it's the sign that we have more natural aromatic and generosity.
Hi everybody, welcome to No Sediment Wine Podcast, and I'm today back in Champagne, and my guest is member of Laherte family, the Champagne house I actually really love, Laherte Frères, Aurélien Laherte. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And, nice to meet you too.
Welcome in Chabot and at the domain Laherte Frères. And yes,
thank you.
My pleasure.
How are you?
Top of the form. We are end of August. We had a very hard and busy season, but the team managed very well. Now we are in the way to prepare the harvest. So of course we take also a few days of vacation. So we recharge the battery, the energy. So we are very good. Yeah, thanks.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Could you tell us a bit more about your wine journey and maybe about the house and the region where we are?
Yes, of course. So I'm the 7th generation of this family domain. We are located in Chabot. Chabot, it's a very nice and small village from the Côte au Sud d'Épernay. This is in fact a very sub-region with 12 different villages, with in fact the big mix of clay and Pinot Meunier from Marne Valley, and then Choc and Chardonnay from Côte des Blancs. We are like in sandwich with these two big regions. It's really nice to be there. It's 13 hectares today that we run at the domain, not only in the Côte au Sud d'Épernay, but also in Montagne de Reims, in Côte des Blancs, and in Vallée de la Marne. So it's very intense. You need to have a very good logistic as well, and a very good team who is able to help you. But at the end, it brings such a good and intense diversity. In fact, I think for the domain, if there is one word that really is the definition, it's the diversity. The diversity of all the different vines that we have in different villages, different terroir, the different also grapes variety. I think it will be one question later. Yeah. And then also the diversity in the process of vinification, and for sure at the end, the result will be a diversity in the wine range. 7th generation, it's quite long history, but I mean, each generation tried to make something more for the domain, an extension with more vines. Someone created a new cellar. I just make recently an extension of the winery. So for me, I have also on my shoulder the history of all this generation, but also look in the future what will be maybe the best for the domain, not necessarily for me as the 7th generation, but for the domain in the future. I mean, it will be the next 20, 50 years. It's a lot of interrogation, but this is also why this works. It's so interesting. It's working for long term. And the vines that we are growing today, there was some plots planted in the years 47, just after World War II by my old grandparents. Mm-hmm. That's going into Les Vignes d'Autrefois, which is 100% Pinot Meunier. And if we are able today to make this very incredible quality from Pinot Meunier, it's not because I'm just very talented. It's because of the old grandparents who planted the vines, then my grandparents and parents who continue to preserve this, and after today we have this. And today we planted recently some old young vines of Petit Méliès, old variety. It will be, I think, helpful for me, because I'm not so old, I'm just getting 40, but it will be also for the next generation. Now, the future will say if it was a good decision or not.
Yeah, well, actually, I do have some questions regarding the grapes.
I'm sure.
But before that, I wanted to ask you, I know that you have practiced your winemaking and as well your wine growing, I guess, working in the vineyards in the different areas. I know you've been in Cava, I guess, in California as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what have you learned from all of these experiences? And
I think it's for me it was very important and a lot of surprise in the good and bad way. Of course, when you born in Champagne, people let you know that okay, we are making sparkling wine, we are doing maybe the best sparkling wine in the world. I don't know if it's true or not, but there is some people, in fact, in Champagne that maybe are too much focused on where we are. And I think it's very good to go out to see different, of course, wine region, but also different approach of how the wines is drinking, etc. How people also works in the vineyard. The wines, for example, that at the domain we are doing, maybe we are just doing for less than 1% of the people on the planet. It's not that we are elitist, it's just that I realize that the process of winemaking all around the world, this is not really what we are doing today. I will not say that we are doing something better or worse, I say it's different. And when I discover, for example, the winemaking, it was during one harvest in California, I arrived and I saw all the things, in fact, I don't want to do. It was one of my best experiences. It's like drinking bad wines. Not for every day, but sometimes when you drink bad wines, you readjust your taste and you say, okay, this is what I don't like because it's this in kind of balance, in kind of sugar, acidity, etc. And I think for me as a vine grower and winemaker, it's also good sometimes to see some practices that are not really what you think for your domain, but maybe it's giving to you some idea or some more different philosophy, and after you understand more how the wine world is working. In Spain, it was also something very different. You have a lot of history with the sparkling wine from Spain. It was also run by Moët Chandon at this time. I learned many things. I worked also a little bit for big brands in the vines in Champagne. I think it was for Champagne Tétinger, exactly. And I think for me it was good because that was at this time that the changement of the vine growing was quite very intense. And with the big brands, they have normally more possibility of changement, of investment with people, materials, etc. And that was very good help for me also to say, okay, maybe this is something good. It's a good tool to have at the domain, and maybe this is not something interesting. So to have this, I think, experience in working, I mean, that was very rich for me. Mm-hmm. That was the thing that my parents were not able to do. At this time, where they finished mostly the school at 16 and then go back in the vines. Mm-hmm. No experimentation in other place, other region, etc. Today, we are very lucky, I mean, our generation, that we have the possibility of having this amazing experience. We have also the experience of the history of the two previous generations. We have also the technology who help us to make more qualitative wines. And then we have also the market, which is really open and curious about what we are doing.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the grapes. You work with almost all of Champagne, almost all of the grapes allowed in Champagne, maybe not malted.
Not yet.
But was it a conscious decision to work with all of the grapes, or you arrived and they were already here and you just had to work with them?
The thing in Champagne that it was this old variety since a long time. Like the Chardonnay, it's not very old variety. It was 350 years ago created. In Champagne, it was all the different Pinot, the Petit Méliès, Arban, all together. Mm-hmm. And then I think the Pinot Noir, the Chardonnay was taking more and more importance for, I think, very good reason. And today, it's approximately a third of each, Pinot Meunier, Pinot Noir, and then Chardonnay. But my grandparents, in the years 50, one they making a plantation of Pinot Meunier, for example. Again, at this time, the economic situation was really difficult, and where they just try to make wines and vine growing with the possibility that they have. It means more or less nothing. And when they planted Pinot Meunier, I think it was done by mistake by the pépiniériste or by the grower. Today, we have some vines of the year 50 planted of Meunier with 2%, 5% of Pinot Gris, for example. In a plots of Chardonnay, we found Arban. On the beginning, even my father and I didn't know what is it. And we say, oh, it's strange, etc. So we have to make some research, etc. And this is at this period that we say, when we look a little bit more, we say, oh, there is this and this. There was just the Pinot Blanc that we didn't have in the one plots of the domain. And we ask and we try to make one new plots called Lisette. It's plots in Chavaux, really close in the village, with all the 7 grapes planted together. And for me, it was the patrimoine of the family. That was Selection Massal from the old vines of my grandparents that we decided to replant. It's new vines, but old variety. I think it's also because we have to be very proud about our history, and we have to respect, and we have to preserve. And sometimes it's a little bit cliche to say that. It's not working all the time, but for the future, maybe when you look back, you could use the different recipe tools, and maybe they are very good for the future. Like basically today, we are more with a warmer condition, with a riper maturity, etc. In the year 70, they had a little bit too much acidity. It was difficult to ripe. So of course, they was looking to get grape variety with more richness, more alcohol potential. Today, we are more looking for freshness and acidity. So Petit Meslier Arban, they was completely disappeared from Champagne because it was too much acid and never ripe. Today, I think talking about the Petit Meslier or the Arban is making sense if you would like to get at a certain portion, of course, not 100%, but at a certain portion, it will be very interesting to have it in order to refresh naturally.
Yeah.
This is how the world goes. I think when you look, it's always going from one direction to the other.
Yeah. Well, I understand that you like the Petit Meslier. Did I pronounce it correctly?
What? Petit Meslier.
Petit Meslier and Arban, because they can retain the acidity, and in the future it could be good. But out of these grapes, which would you think shows more promise and which are more challenging and you might stop working with? Or you will, I mean, because grapes are different, you know, one is maybe more prone to diseases and you just find
After it's, because again, when you plant vines, it's not only for you and it's for the next 60 years.
Yeah.
So it's not possible to know how the Petit Meslier will be in the next 50 years or how the Chardonnay will work. Some people think that the Chardonnay will work always very well. And it's true that when you look all around the world, you have some Chardonnay in South Africa, in New Zealand, in many different places. And this is still good Chardonnay. What I like with the Petit Meslier, for example, and this over the other variety, it's a very strong personality. And then when you get a very strong personality, you could bring, and I think we are people with also strong personality, you could transmit this personality to the wines. The Chardonnay, sometimes it's a variety that could be too much elegant, too much easy, too much clean, too much fresh, and when it's too much, it's boring. That's my point of view. And I think sometimes you need to have something a little bit more powerful or sometimes a little bit more fat. And this is like that. Again, for me, and in Champagne, I think we are very good and well known for that, the works of blend. When you blend, you is not like a painter, but you create a kind of harmony. You could use different type of variety, different vinification, different terroir, etc. And this is like that you create the balance, but also you create the personality. And I think for me, we have this possibility in Champagne to work with this different variety. It's, of course, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, it's very good. But for me, when you have this opportunity to work with different things, that brings more personality. This is really what I think. But again, I have nothing, I'm not, I couldn't say that this variety in the future will be less or this will be better, because it's always, for me, a combination of variety, type of vine growing, the profile of the vintage, and most important, the terroir. Never forget that in Champagne, the most precious things that we have, this is the choke. And the choke, I think, will still work for a very long time, works like mineralization, salinity, works like a sponge. Too much water go out, not enough keep it. And that's for me the best things. After you could plant, if you want Chenin Blanc, you could put some Merlot, I don't know, many different crazy things in Champagne in the future. I think the terroir, if it's the soil alive and the vine growing is well done, you could obtain very good surprise.
Okay, so you believe that terroir will take over the grape?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. Les vignes d'autrefois, it's Pinot Meunier. In your mind, in your idea, Pinot Meunier is a very fruity variety who age very fast, a little bit too large and not enough fresh. Here, les vignes d'autrefois, the vines planted in 1947, it's on the bottom of the hill, 40 centimeters of clay, then the roots on the chalk. Blind test, for me, I never feel that it's 100% Meunier, but I feel that it's chalk. This is the chalk who take a lot of advantage and a lot of power regarding the variety. This is why the Chardonnay, again, it's a variety that you could, at blind test, you could find easily. But if you have a very strong terroir, I mean, I don't know, volcanic, sandy, with the clay, with the chalk, that's bring the personality. Mm-hmm. Maybe the clay will bring a personality a little bit too heavy, too large. But the chalk, for us, this is what we have, brings the personality very salty and fresh. But for that, you have to work the soil, I think, in a quite good approach.
Yeah. I also want to ask you about I know that in Champagne it's also very important, the clones of grapes, and apparently there are also some clones that are allowed, and some that are not, and it differs, for example, in Champagne and Burgundy. And there's this one myth when we talk about sparkling wines. They usually say that the wine, the vin clair, should be as neutral as possible. But then you use, if I'm not mistaken, Chardonnay Muscat, which is the aromatic clone of Chardonnay. Is that correct?
Maybe to talk to give the answer, we could have the taste of
yes.
this.
Always, yes.
Bottle. Yeah, so like that you could understand, and for me also maybe give me some inspiration. So here this is Les Empreintes 18. This is 50 Chardonnay Muscaté and 50 Pinot Noir. Mm-hmm. These Chardonnay Muscaté, they are also planted by my grandparents in 57. So it was before the arriving of the clone. So that was a Sélection Massale. Mm-hmm. It was by mistake. I think my grandparents at this time was not looking to have some Chardonnay Muscaté to get more richness and fruitness. I think, again, he decided to plant plots of Chardonnay, and the plants that he have, it was some Chardonnay Muscaté. Today, we are very lucky to have this. We decide to make a Sélection Massale inside of these plots to make a new plantation of Chardonnay Muscaté. That will be the first harvest this year. I think it's the clone arrived in the years 70. So for us at the domain, all the plots that we have before the year 65, we keep it. Okay. The plots that we have between the year 70 to 90, that was not necessarily the best, that makes good wines because it's quite old vines. But the vegetal material is not maybe the best qualitative, because at this time there was not more looking, the clone was quite created to make a very good consistency about the yield. And also, hopefully, about the maturity, but not necessarily in terms of aromatics. So today, the clone is not a bad thing, but you have to make, again, diversity of different clones. You have to also try to find the clone which are appropriate to Champagne. That's what you know. But also, there is some clone, you say, that makes a natural taste as a vin clair. That was maybe the vision of the previous two generations in Champagne. Today we understand that you just have to look the level of the dosage from the years 70 to now. I think we were at 20 grams, and now more of the wines are under 6, or maybe the big wines could be at 8, 10, etc. So the reduction of the dosage, it's the sign that we have more natural aromatic and generosity, which is, I think, more true for the consumer, true honest from us, and that's also the real quality and the real taste from the grapes, and also from the terroir. So now, for us, we like to have Sélection Massale, but when we don't have the nice Sélection Massale, for example, for Pinot Meunier, we could plant different clones that are making a different qualitative profile, sometimes more focus on the aromatic, sometimes more focus on the freshness, etc.
Okay.
And here, this is on the current release. Will arrive on the market soon. It's 18. 18 was quite rich, intense, and generous vintage. But here, again, all the work we did from the last 15 years in terms of vine growing, that's permit to us to keep the freshness and the minerality from the plots of the Pinot Noir, les Rouges Maisons, and the Chardonnay Muscaté. Here, it's very present on the nose, I feel. And this is the very aromatic sensation that you have. That's bringing a little bit of richness and very exotic pineapple fruit character, which is for me with 18, sometimes it's a little bit like too sexy profile, but also that's also very seductive. And I like that. This is a wine that I like because the idea of the blend in Champagne, it's always for me 1 + 1 is 3. You have the Chardonnay Muscaté, which are very aromatic and very, powerful. And then you have the Pinot Noir, which is planted on the limestone, very hard chalk. That's very precise and solid, very a little bit close on the fruit. And when you blend them, it's more than you could expect. And that's also sometimes what in Champagne the people have to really enjoy. It's this idea of blend.
Yeah, I will want to ask you a few things about the blending as well. Beautiful. But I mean, on the nose, it still is very pure Champagne.
So,
like when you think sometimes of Muscat, you think, oh, but this is...
Chardonnay Muscaté, we are not making Cava or Prosecco or I don't know what. So this is also really one of the very good luck that we have to be in Champagne on the north to have the chalk, is that we could look for some richness, some very good body, but we still have this low pH, this good acidity, this precision. That's really, really amazing. I mean, we are able to look for very low yield and very strong complexity, and we still have the freshness. And there is, I think, like many good places in Germany have also this kind of possibility. In Switzerland is the same as well. And you have some places in a different part of the world who have, with this kind of cold climate, you could obtain a very good phenolic maturity, but then you could also have this kind of freshness. So it's Champagne, but aromatic in the approach, but not too obvious.
Yeah, definitely. In the beginning, you said that you are a wine grower. And if I understand correctly, you follow more organic and biodynamic approach. And I wanted to ask you why this is important. I think I know the answer already, but why this is important to you and how that translates into your wines.
It was a long-term reflection. Again, because with the different practices I discovered, in fact, that, for example, in California, they were using the same variety, like Chardonnay, Pinot Noir. Then in Champagne, they are using the same type of yeast. I remember it was Champagne yeast. It was very funny. Using the same barrel, sometimes the same type of vinification, the same oenologist. It was the flying winemaker at this time, etc. And I come back, I say, again, the only things that we could preserve and are from us, it's the weather. But the weather, it's we are all living in the same planet. So you are not able to change a lot of things. It's all together. And after, you have your land. And with your land, this is really something special. And this is... You don't own, but that's something that you received and that you have to keep it, or if possible, to increase the potential. Of course, stopping the herbicide, it's the first immediate solution and answer to try to getting more life and to have the sensation of the terroir inside of the glass. For me, this is when you smell the salinity on the finish. This is the certification that the work is well done, except if I just add some salt in the barrels. But this is something we are not doing for sure. So for me, this kind of organic or biodynamic growing was not necessarily the key, but this is something helping. It's like a tool. We were just doing that by experimentation. For me, it's a very good approach, but I don't want to do it by religion. This is not also like an ideological approach. It's something really that we don't want to do for us and for the quality of the wines. I mean, today we are in the making experimentation with cover crops. We plant radish, beans, mustard, rye, different plants, and we create like some mulch, and we we have to wait a few years to see the evolution, if it will be positive or not for the soil, but also for the plant, and more important for the grapes and the quality of the wine. So in the future, if you work like 10 years, 20 years in this way, and yet that you feel that maybe your wines are losing something, you have to be pragmatic. If one day someone told me that the Roundup it's amazing and you will increase the quality of the wines, this is not like that I will change my philosophy. But there is something that you have never to forget, that as a vine grower, you have to respect your soil, but you have to respect also the idea that you have a minimum of yield to create each year, and also then a qualitative wine to produce. Is to be pragmatic. So this is why this year, 24, we declassify. We are not organic. We just decide to apply a chemical product. It was the same in 21. It was the same in 16 and in 12. So we are always, for me, we are working with the modernity and the tradition. We are working with we could work with biodynamic or organic vine growing, but sometimes we need the help of a chemical product. It's the same in vinification. We make some wines without sulfate, but there is some wines that we decide to add a little bit more sulfates because we would like that the wine is not making the malo or age a little bit longer, etc., etc. So it's difficult to explain our philosophy. But again, I will say, like what I said to you on the beginning, diversity. There is some plots that, of course, we could work all the time in the biodynamics, but sometimes we prefer to be a little bit have more guarantee when there is some crazy season like that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, could you maybe tell us a bit more about this 2024 vintage? Because I hear from everyone it has been very challenging and difficult.
Yeah, we start to understand how to work with a very difficult season like that. The last one was 21, and we were completely. I said we saved the grapes. We tried to save the grapes, but we didn't save the people because everybody was very tired physically and also in the spirit, in the mind. I say 1 year like that, it's okay, but every 10 years. Just to remember that you don't control the weather and the nature, just to remember that, and also for the consumer, that wine, it's not like techniques and like a recipe that you could have all the time. So it's limited and it's according to also the weather. And also for me, I think it's important to understand that we have to go in the ecological way all together. We have to understand that the changement of the weather could be positive, but also could be very negative. Until now, I always say that it's a little sad to say that, but the climate change helps a lot Champagne, like the Nordic countries in Europe, because you have better conditions for the production, for the yield, for the maturity as well. This is why making Brut Nature in 2020 it's really easier than in the year 70. That's for sure. This is just because of changement of the weather. When you just to remember, basically my grandparents making the harvest on the year 70, beginning of October. It was 8% alcohol degrees. And the Pinot Meunier was a little bit with botrytis and not ripe. My parents in the years 90, middle September harvest, and with 10 degrees for the Chardonnay when the condition was good. Today, we already have 2003, 7, 11, 18, 19, I don't remember 22, maybe 22 we harvest, we pick up at on the 1st of September, but all this harvest was end of August. So you see, and now we had some Chardonnay at 12 degrees. So just in 50 years, it's like we earn 1 month and we earn 4 degrees. In Épernay, it was the increasing of the temperature from the last 50 years. It's locally, just in Épernay, it's more than 3 degrees.
Oh, wow.
There is on the planet there is some region that's increased more than other, etc. But it's very again it was helpful for the vine growing, etc. But today we see that we have more repercussion, so there is more risk of the frost arriving. Whereas also this year it was the biggest storm, etc. And here this year it was the climate change. I don't know how. I'm not I'm not a people working with the climate, but. Of course, yeah, it was this quantity of rain constantly since February until today, because yesterday we still have some rain. That I don't know the explanation, but for me, of course, it's something that we have to live with, especially the vines. Does we have to be, like to say, very humble and say, okay, this is a year that it's too hard to have some good condition for vine growing. I have some friends who are like that. They say it's too much. So we will be very small yield, but next year it will be better. Or does we have to fight a little bit more and say, okay, we are the weather is not so friendly with us, but we have to try to fight a little bit more. I mean, I don't know, this year maybe we spend 30 more times on the vines to control the grass, to take out some leaves, to make some aeration, to make the treatments. Many things. It was a lot of details. The most difficult, in fact, is not to making this works. The most difficult is to never stop. To don't forget the motivation, because when it's 1 month, it's okay. But here it's 5-6 months.
Yeah.
At the domain, 13 hectares, we are 10 people working full time. Then from April to July, it's 10 people more. So it's a lot of people in the vines. And for me, I'm always with the guys, with the team to try to take out this, to control the vegetation, etc., to making the treatments. So again, this year we did a very amazing job. The result is here. We still have some very nice grapes, but there is some plots that the mildew probably could, I don't know, maybe 50% of the harvest is done. But for me, I'm not the people who could say, I continue to be organic, or I continue to say that the nature it's so hard that I will lose completely the harvest. That's the education I received. We have people who like to work and to see the result.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was a sad question.
No, but it's it was the same as 2016 was also something very hard, but just in middle of June, and I was very hard pressure, but today when you drink the 16, I'm smiling. Because we still have some in the cellar, and we see that the potential, it's so much, it's fresh, elegant, it's very good, that I say, okay, we work so hard, but the result is still here. But when you work hard and that you have no result, here you could be very sad. Yeah. I will be never sad or frustrated when you have the frost, for example, or the hail. This is the nature arrive, and in 10 minutes it's done. But when you have a period quite difficult, and that you know that you have to work like 10 hours more if you would like to save, if you say, oh no, it's the weekend, I finished, or I'm too tired, and that you lost everything, here I will be very, very sad and very angry. So this is what we arrived to not make it with the team. We arrived to continue and to maintain the pressure of the good works. Okay. And I think it's today I'm 40. I was not really thinking like that when I arrived at the domain. The education and I mean the management of the team. Today it's so much important for us because the domain, we have many things that we have to do in terms of winemaking, vine growing, logistic administration, receiving the nice people like you and making the tasting, trying to put the wines on different markets. So to have good people in the members in your team, it's so much important if you would like to produce very good grapes at the end. And that's today I spend a lot of time with this. And I think that the result of this year, it's also due to that.
I wanted to ask you also about the terroir. You have mentioned it several times, and I think in a Champagne region where so much actually winemaker adds. I mean, aging on the lees, blending, oak or no oak, mallow or no mallow, how do you preserve the terroir? How do you make sure that the terroir shines through all that winemaking?
You have different approach, and I think to talk about this, we could taste the Ultradition, which is in fact the first wine from the domain. And here, for sure, you have, I think, the biggest diversity from the domain that we could have in one bottle from us. You have almost 50 different plots. So 50, not 50 different terroirs, but basically more than 12 different terroirs. We have also the 3 different varieties, different vintages, different type of vinification. So here, of course, it's the real notion of blending. So the terroir, if we could resume, that would be clay and chalk, but at a certain proportion. And I think this is not necessarily what you find immediately when you taste and when you drink and enjoy this wine, except, again, the salinity. The saltiness, what you have on the finish, just around here in the middle on the mouth, this is really coming from the chalk. And I think if you arrive to take that, it means that the works in the vines, the roots are going quite deeper to take the mineral salts, then to transmit to the grapes. And then if you do a good pressing and a good vinification, these mineral salts stay here. So that's the general view of Champagne. And then, of course, you could have, and this is what we do since now almost 15 years, the single vineyard cuvée. Because on the 80 different plots that we have, of course, there is some plots who are more focused on the clay, there is some who are more focused on the limestone, some on the chalk, etc. And there is some plots that we just discover the amazing potential of working well every year. And I think, just give me a minute,
Sure.
I bring a few bottles. And like that, we could go a little bit more deeper through the diversity of the different terroirs from the village. Well, probably just do that already. It's a little bit cliché, but you have from the same village, les vignes d'autrefois, which is Pinot Meunier, les Grandes Crayères, which is Chardonnay, and les Rouges Maisons, which is Pinot Noir. And they are all from the same harvest. Like that, you understand how the variety giving the importance to the wine, but also how the terroir, the specificity, and here, of course, what we choose, it's the chalk for the vignes d'autrefois and les crayères, and les Rouges Maisons, you will see, I will explain you when we'll tasting the wines. Maybe the easiest is that you taste and give me your impression.
I will also, since you brought the single vineyards, I will also use the opportunity to ask you this. I mean, the single vineyards are becoming more popular, I think, within Champagne to produce. And I wonder what drives that that notion. Is it, or maybe is it better to ask what single vineyards offer that blends do not?
When my parents making the wines in the years 90, they was doing Brut, Blanc Blanc, Rosé, Millésime, 4 wines in the range. Today we are making between 16 to 18 different wines. I don't know if it's smart, but we do it. In fact, when we like Les Vignes d'Autrefois was one of the first single vineyard cuvées that we started. I arrived at the domain in 2005 with my father, and he was dreaming about making 100% Pinot Meunier. But he said there is nobody to want to buy and drink a Pinot Meunier, even the top sommelier in Paris or everywhere. I say, let's do it. We will find some people, or if not, we'll drink everything. And and it's like that because we are all, I'm also, when you are young, you have a lot of energy. You are a little bit crazy with your idea, but your energy giving also the intention to making a changement and new things. So this is why we started with Les Vignes d'Autrefois, Pinot Meunier. And because I told you that we are in Coteau Sud d'Épernay. Coteau Sud d'Épernay, the terroir, a part of Marne-Vallée, a part of chalk. Of Côte des Blancs, sorry. And Côte des Blancs, this is the chalk, the Marne-Vallée, this is mostly the clay. And here, this is really the influence of the chalk, which is taking more importance than the influence of the aromatic perception than the Pinot Meunier is. You have more salinity than the power than the Pinot Meunier. This is all vines, so the roots are very deeper into the soil. you have this interpretation of the terroir that makes the Pinot Meunier a little bit more fresher and elegant than the Pinot Meunier could be on the soil with a lot of clay. So the to try to give an answer to your question, the single vineyard cuvée, the lieu-dit, I think they were created by our generation, my generation, or the previous generation a little bit, because we've just found that there is something so much specific and interesting to show that we don't have to put necessarily into the blend. But alone, it makes something very interesting to first for us to understand, because we don't have this history of the lieu-dit. In Burgundy, you are in Meursault, you will know that in this place, this is where in Les Charmes, you will always find the richest maturity. The other place, this is where you will find more limestone, so more precision. Here in Champagne, except a few villages like Ménil-sur-Roger, Avize, Bouzy, Ambonnay, like the classical Grand Cru with history, they know really well on the map, this is the best lieu-dit, etc. But for us in the village, we have to rediscover this. So this is when, if you are able to vinify each plot separately, that you could say, here, okay, I understand that it works. Here, you could make a discovery. There were some plots that we never expect, that we have this kind of amazing personality. So when we discovered that, what you could do? You could put the Pinot Meunier from Les Vignes d'Autrefois in the Ultradition. That probably could increase a little bit the quality of Ultradition. Or you could show the Pinot Meunier on the chalk, just like that, just for you, for your pleasure, and hopefully for the pleasure of other people. And this is why also I always say that we are very lucky to be in this moment, is that the market was really open and people rediscover what is Champagne, and especially Champagne growers and the single vineyard cuvée. If we are able to do this kind of wines to do today, it's probably because we put a lot of ambition and a lot of energy, but it's also because the market is ready. I remember on the beginning, the Pinot Meunier, there was some people say, I don't know, it's just for the blend, etc. Today you arrive in some good places, they say it's the best variety from Champagne. I'm very happy. But the Pinot Meunier was there since a long time. But we just reinterpret, and with the single vineyard cuvée, you could the comparison for Pinot Meunier, for example, with Alexandre Chartogne, Jérôme Prévost, they are more located in the north of Reims, with more sandy soil and clay. It's a different approach than the Pinot Meunier that we are here. I will not say this is better or this is worse than the Jérôme or Alex wines. It's really different, and this is really the terroir interpretation. And I think for that, there is no better thing than to make single vineyard cuvée.
Okay.
But you have to be pragmatic. We have 90 different wines, different plots, sorry. We will never make 50 different wines lieu-dit. It will not making sense. You are making a single vineyard cuvée taking a few years. We have, for example, when we decide to make Les Grandes Crayères, which is 100% Chardonnay from Chabot, first vintage was 2014, and this is in 12 that with my father we said, in this plot there is quite interesting potential. Okay, keep in mind, taste, put a few bottles for us, etc. 13, the same, and this is in 14 that, okay, that works. We know, we are sure that this wine will be good every year, if we are working well every year, for sure. And since 2014, we do vintage every year from the same plots. Okay. And I think it's also the single vineyard cuvée are the same philosophy than the vintage. In Champagne, I don't know if it's one or your question, but
no, not about vintages.
For the vintages, you see that mostly the big brands, they say, okay, 12, it's a very good vintage. 13, not so much. 14, more or less. 15, yes. Mm-hmm. For us, we do, and I think many growers like us, we do vintage every year. Because every year we try to make the best as possible in the vines, in the winery. Every year we could show the works, the result of our works, and also the diversity. What I like for me, maybe 13, it was quite difficult harvest because it was beginning of October. It was a cold temperature, but it's so fine, so elegant. And today, it's one of the best vintage for me in Champagne that we were making. 17 was really difficult on the other side. It was quite young early harvest with a lot of botrytis, a lot of richness, a lot of aromatics. So the wines are more rich and very a little bit the glycerol approach, etc. It's the day and night, but they are good to do as a vintage. So that's the same with a single vineyard cuvée. We have to be open and proud to present something very unique.
Okay. So to show also the differences between each plot and each vintage, because the large houses, they usually say this was great vintage, so we declared it.
Yes, which this I understand completely. But if the people are quite open and curious, and also it's for me it's always the pleasure to enjoy the wines and also to learn something. And I think with wines, it's something used to share with people. It's also remember the history with the vines, with the terroir, etc. And also to discover a part of the world and to discover the work we were done. It's something very artisanal. And I think when the people are a little bit more curious, like the people start, they taste the Ultradition, and they saw that there is a quite high proportion, 60% of Pinot Meunier. They are maybe a little bit surprised, and the week after, they decide to taste 100% Meunier. And oh, wow, it's very fresh and it's elegant, I never expect, etc. And after, they decide to go on different Pinot Meunier from Champagne Tarlan, for example, in the Marne Valley, or Françoise Bedel in the Aisne, or many other growers who could grow a very good Pinot Meunier. And like that, you open your mind, you discover another, it's not a new champagne, but it's really, I think for us, it's quite natural to think like that, but I understand for the people that when you just say champagne, you think that it's the wine for the party for New Year's Eve or from a big brand and the luxury product. But after that, you have also the natural wines with the people like us who produce some Pinot Meunier from different terroirs, etc. and try to be very honest. And I think today one of the luxury things is to be very honest and to say the truth and to be humble but proud in the same time about the result that you put into the bottles. And today, for me, Pinot Meunier, Vignes d'Autrefois, Les Rouges Maisons de Pinot Noir, we are in Chavaux, we are not Premier Cru or Grand Cru, but with the terroir that we have and with all the energy of the works we did, but we try to make something good. And the result is that today we have the recognition of many people, journalists, importers, wine lovers, etc., to say, it's wine with personality. And I think for me, this is the most important. The terroir bring the personality.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah. Well, I think this is very beautiful. It's very fine. And it has that... you mentioned that Meunier can sometimes be too fat. This is definitely not. It's very kind of energetic and clean and precise.
Because of the soil. And this is 20. 20 is not it's a vintage with quite high maturity, good power, richness, etc. And for me, I'm totally amazed how the choke, the terroir, could just you not forget the aromatic freshness, but you for sure the terroir give a little bit more place into this wine.
And did you say that this one is this the one that it is aged on the lees of Chardonnay, or no?
No, this is for the reserve wines. This is the Pinot Meunier vinify in tanks, going for Ultradition. They are after going in the barrels with the lees of Chardonnay. But this is a wine that just from the press to the barrels stay like that on his own lees. Yes.
All right.
Would you like to continue with the other Yodi?
Yeah.
And now this is a little bit more easy to understand because it's Chardonnay and choke. And this is, of course, something that typically from Côte des Blancs, for example, when you have the choke, you could grow some very nice Chardonnay.
Thank you.
From the same vintage, same way of vinification.
Yes, this is very classic nose.
Yep. Which is not bad. The Chardonnay will be never replaced because it's a very nice and elegant variety. But after that, you have to add something more. For me, this is the personality. The personality could come from the winemaking process, the vine growing with the maturity, with the yield, etc. And after the terroir. The terroir, you don't control it, but because it's here since 100 million years ago, but you could try to take a little bit more or not enough. This is just the viticulture who could change that.
And can you tell me how do you decide which cuvée or which lieu-dit you would choose to block the malo or introduce the malo?
This is more the winemaker job.
Okay.
Because when you are making the vine growing, you try to respect the potential of these vines with the yield, the quantity of leaves, the grapes, etc. But after, when the juice arrive, you taste and you have to choose a little bit how you want to educate this juice. So now is the choice, should I put this juice in a barrels of 3 years old or 20? Or should I put the barrels more in concrete tanks or in a big food? It depends. After, when you have made this choice, you have the question of the steering of the lees, the malo or not malo, keeping of the lees, how long you want. So it's many different details that at the end will change completely the face of the wines. But this is not just malo, no malo that will change completely today the personality of this.
Sure.
Making no malo for les vignes d'autrefois, les grandes crayères. In my idea, it was also because my parents was doing the vintages without malo. In my idea, you keep a little bit more the integral acidity, so in terms of potential of aging, that works. And also then, because in Champagne, all like these wines, we have a pH under 3. Under 3, it means that the lactic bacteria, they are not so much happy to be in this kind of middle. For them, it's not something very, very natural. So we have more problems to start the malo than stop it. Mm-hmm. But like the recent harvest, like 23, 22, we had some increasing of the pH because warmer maybe temperature and higher maturity. So of course the pH go higher because the acidity go down a little bit. And for example, in 23, les grandes crayères, the malo was done.
Okay.
We didn't control. If we want to be always under control, we just had to add suffer, or to have temperature control in the barrels. But this is also not something that I'm very happy with.
Okay.
So we give a direction, but for I don't know which kind of reason the wine decide to go in this way or this, we respect, but we try to continue. Now we change. We understand as a winemaker that now there is something a little bit different that we were thinking on the beginning, and after we try to follow, and we don't have to be afraid about the evolution of the wines, and we don't have. That's I think what I learned from the in the practices I done when I was younger. That it was the people say, okay, you have to give me a Chardonnay who tastes citric lemon with a freshness and green flowers. It was just a works of oenology. It was not a works of vine growing or etc. So here we just respect the profile of the vintage. We respect the evolution of the wines, the typicity, etc. Mm-hmm. And I think it's you have to be very humble also with that.
Okay. This is very like white blossom, white florals.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And again, Chardonnay choke, it's a perfect match. The salinity and the finish continue to bring all the energy and. But in most of the, imagine a vine grower from Côte des Blancs to say to him, give the advice that, okay, you should plant Pinot Meunier. They would never plant Pinot Meunier in Ménil-sur-Roger and Avis because the Chardonnay works so well. But if one day there is someone crazy who decide to plant Pinot Meunier in Avis, it will be not a very bad Pinot Meunier, I'm totally sure. Because the terroir will take so much importance and energy and influence that it will create something very strong in terms of personality.
Yeah. I will ask you one more question. I ask this to everyone, and I wanted to ask you, what is the one wine myth you would like to debunk?
I really don't know. It's the first time that we had this kind of question. Because there is many, it's not that there is many legends about the life of the vine grower and how we could work, etc. But for me, there is something that I would like that people understand more and more, that again, we are not just winemaker, we are not just people that making some nice tasting in the restaurant, etc. We are people that, for me especially, I think this is what we are doing at the domain, is that we really are people from the stay on the roots, and I think this is our education. We are more farmers than people who sell the wines, and I think is not contradictive to be humble and ambition. We have a lot of ambition in the winemaking, but we are very humble in terms of what we could produce and with the weather and etc. And today, when you see the evolution of the wines with the prices, there is many people who could say, okay, what these guys are making, and again, when you talk, it's valuable for the wine world industry, but also just for the private consumer. I think when you look back, especially I talk about Champagne, this is what I know. I don't know for the other region, but it was more or less like that. My grandparents had a very poor life. It was very hard. Nobody had give some interest about the wines that they are making. My grandmother, she was working with a horse because they had no money to buy a tractor. Today, if we make the plowing by horse for les grandes crayères, for example, it's because that we have some people in front of us who could pay a little bit more to have a wine with very strong personality from the terroir, and the horse could help a little bit, probably the preservation of the terroir, etc. So of course, this evolution of the better works, I think, changed a little bit also the evolution of the price. We don't have to think that the wine world will be still like that. We always have to go back in the old days and to have this in memory, that we are farmers, we are not businessmen. And I think it's good also to respect the wines with a cheap price, because there is always a lot of works behind. It's also good to be not so much amazed by the amazing bottles with crazy prices, because there is something wrong with that, I think. So the wine is again is to be shared, is not to be collected, is not. And when you have too much business made by people other than growers, there is something wrong. So maybe this is the thing that I don't know if it's the good answer and something that you imagine, but for me it was also something that we see more and more often in terms of reaction. And I think for me, we have a good life. We make a lot of investment, but again, it's for long term. And we try also to be very respect about the market, and to be pragmatic also with the quality, the price, and all the people working with us, etc.
Well, thank you. No, I actually agree with you, and I'm really happy that you brought this up, because lately I've not as much actually. I'm really happy about the winemakers in Champagne, the growers in Champagne, but I've seen with some that the prices have gone up similarly like in Burgundy. But we also see that with Burgundy it has crashed. And there are a few growers that I work with, and I received the allocation prices this year, and I was like, thank you. I really respect that. I think you just kind of know, and you try to make it less volatile, and it's just...
This is what I said to you before in terms of vine growing, etc. We go from an extreme to another one. I think it was to go too much extreme, and my parents always say, they had this crisis in the years 90 when it was the Gulf crisis, etc. And they say, no, don't worry, the life will be never like that, always plus 10. And I'm not dreaming about that. For me, what I like is to be on the tractor the day after, to be on the disgorgement after, to talk with you, etc. And for that, you don't need a big amount of money. And for me, the wine lovers, this is not necessarily we have the biggest amount of money also. So to be like that, I'm very satisfied. And this is what I'm dreaming. It's hopefully continue to make my works with the same condition and try to transmit, and that the kids could go could have the same condition.
Yeah.
Except the weather.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will change. Voilà.
Thank you. I have small gift. I hope you will have a good use of it. It's the
top.
No Sediment.
Top. That will be something I put on my head for all the harvest.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And thank you for your time during this busy period. I understand you were one of the rare ones that agreed to meet with me. I understand that August.
It's but because we take holiday a little bit sooner, I think, and because also for me, I like to be very active before the harvest. That gives me even more motivation, and so it was a pleasure to welcome you and present to you.
Thank you, and I love your wines.
Merci beaucoup.
They're great.
Thanks you.
Thanks you.
Thanks.